Podcasting from Ohio, the Buckeye State, this is Married to an African. Being married is hard work, but try being married to someone from a different culture. It's like trying to turn around on a one-way street. So let me help you navigate around all the obstacles. This is your host, Dehadi C., a queen who fell in love overseas in Dakar. Now, years later, 2 kids, a bunch of jobs and ups and downs, we're all still here together. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Okay, you guys, every time I try to, and I'm being completely honest, kind of move past this podcast, I get so many questions on my Facebook page and also on the YouTube page where my podcast can be located, which is Married to an African. Just a lot of questions, and so it just lets me know that you guys still want some feedback from me, still want to communicate with me in regards to what you're going through, because honestly, I'm still growing through it too. So let's just be really concise, precise, and get right down to it. I'm going to continue this podcast for as long as you want it. I have 4 bullet points for today's focus, which is cultural differences. Someone put in my message like, listen, can we talk about cultural differences? Of course we can. Just to recap, my husband and I met in 2002. We got married in 2004. We met overseas in Dakar, Senegal at very, very young ages, in our very early 20s. I believe I was 20, he was 21, or he was 21, I was 22, something like that, you guys. Check out my past podcast if you want a more in-depth understanding of our situation. But yeah, cultural differences was probably the very most important thing or hurdle we had to get over. And even to this day, it is still and can still be an issue because of the way that you grow up and the ideas that you have and the mindset that you have and how things should work and how they should be perceived comes with you as an individual, and vice versa. You know, the idea that someone has to completely negate everything that they have or learned in their life to make someone else comfortable is not healthy. Okay, let's just be completely honest. It's not healthy and it's not real. Okay, so number 1, educate yourself and your family about the other person's culture. If you don't educate yourself on your partner that you chose to be with's culture, you are not going to win this at all. If you assume that because you are the prize, there is no work for you to do, you're not going to be successful in your marriage. And I will go ahead and flat out say that. Like, there's no way. Think about you as a child and how long it took you to completely understand your culture. Even sometimes when you go and you be like, look, I don't know why they do this, but this is just what we do. That's a part of our culture. Exactly. So don't assume that someone else is able to, completely change themselves, chameleonize themselves, for lack of better terms, to suit you. You have to educate yourself. If this is important to you, you will educate yourself. As a young person, I went to the library and got books. And when I say I got books, I got elementary books. You know those books where you got the little kindergarten kids on there and they like, I speak Spanish, or I'm just using it as an example, okay? Or something like, Welcome to Ireland. That's what I was doing, y'all, because that's how sincere I was about understanding who this man was. I fell in love with him, but it's my responsibility to research more about not just him, but the culture that he grew up in, the culture that created him, essentially. And it is my job to tell my family up front before we get there with the goat stew, with the pot of whatever, before they turn their nose up with the lamb, okay? that we're coming, and we're coming with this and he's going to be wearing this and I'm going to be wearing this because culturally this is what they do. And I accept my husband's culture. I accept my husband's way of life. And now we are presenting it to you in the best form, in the best fashion, so that you can have respect for it too. Yes, it's not your cup of tea, but leave the cup on the table. Don't pour it out, right? Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. And so a lot of this is, again, communication. A lot of this, again, is learning. And a lot of this, again, is accepting where you are on this journey. You're not going to learn everything in 90 days. Absolutely not. You're not going to learn everything about this person in a year, because cultural ideas seep out and they present themselves in all kind of circumstances. Okay, you just can't be like, okay, so tell me more, what do we do? No, you actually have to be in a situation to completely understand when this is okay and when this is not okay, and take that shit on the chin, y'all. Stop being so sensitive to your partner's culture and your partner's ideas. Okay, don't press the brakes so quickly on an idea just because it's not something that you've ever done before. And don't get me wrong, I am not suggesting that one is better than the other. I am not defending anybody in this circumstance. What I'm telling you is what I know, because what I know has worked for me. And I'm hoping that in me saying this, it will work for you. But you got to add your own spices to the pot, because that's your meal that you're preparing. I'm just telling you the ingredients, okay? Number 2, discuss the positives and the negatives. Okay, one thing I can't stand is going into a culturally different situation and being blindfolded. I tell my husband all the time, who's going to be there? Is this a naming ceremony? Okay, so I need to wear this. I do not let him tell me what, like, baby, you don't have to get dressed up. And then you get there and everybody is dressed up. So I've gotten to a point where I'm like, okay, if this is a naming ceremony, I know I need to wear this. If this is a wedding, I know I need to wear this. If this is just a kickback, I know I need to wear this, but I also need to do a little bit of this on the side, because, you know, you're presenting me to your friends and your family. And so it's not like, you know, we laid back downstairs watching TV. I'm going somewhere. So I want to look presentable. I don't have to be, you know, like I'm going to a dinner date, etc. But I do want to look presentable. So I want to know what is expected. I want to know the positives and the negatives. And that is me, because I am a more direct approach type of person. I don't care. Just give it, like, tell me. If we're at an event and I'm doing too much talking, babe, in this structure, you know, women don't speak as much. But over here, the men are together and the women are, you know what I'm saying, over there in the back, chilling and kiki-hiding over there. That's fine. That's fine, because guess what? When we come to the United States, and when you're in the United States, there are positives and negatives as well. In my culture, this is acceptable, babe. This is not. One of the biggest things I remember when he first came to the United States was taking out the trash. And he was like, we don't do that here. And we don't do that here. You know what I'm saying? You're here, men take out the trash here. And I know this sounds really petty to some of you, and maybe to some of you it doesn't. But, you know, as a young 20-year-old, and hearing that, I was like, I ain't about to have them looking at me take out the trash and there's a man here. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, vice versa. In his culture, because the women tend to the home, they do it. And as time has evolved, it is not so much of a custom now. But almost 20 years ago, you guys, it was a thing. You know, I remember his mom saying, like, my son shouldn't be taking out the trash. Okay, but here in the United States, he does. Here in the United States, it's okay. Over there, it's not. So it is a lot of conversation about positives and the negatives within your cultures, and then jointly choosing which part will fit within your relationship. Your relationship meaning you and your partner. The outside influences have no influence. Okay. And I get it, because it is a part of the culture to hear other people's interpretations of what works, of what you need. Because I've been there, you guys. I've heard him say to me, my mom thinks, my sister thinks, my cousin thinks, my auntie thinks, my friends think, blah, blah, blah. And that's great. That's great. I am validating their interpretation of what works within your culture. But when we close the door, we have a relationship that deserves you and I coming together to determine what works for us. Okay. And they don't need to know. Like that right there, that's the thing for me. Nobody else needs to know. Nobody else needs to know what works behind closed doors for us. Of course, people are going to have their interpretations. That is a part of the culture. That's a part of American culture, and that's a part of any other culture. Yes, they're going to see it. They're going to want to talk about it. Of course. And that's fine. Thank you. There's no argument. I'm not arguing with nobody who has an idea of what I should be doing. Because at the end of the day, I'm going to do it, what I want to do. And when it comes to me and my partner, we're going to determine what works. And if he doesn't agree with me, hear me clearly, you guys, who cares? Like, for real, who cares? He doesn't agree with me. Okay, we are going to agree to disagree on this. I'm not going to disrespect you. I'm not going to call you out your name. I'm not going to withhold sex. Okay, I'm not going to withhold those things because he is able to have his own opinion. Every situation is not going to be like, I'm so glad we came to this joyous conclusion. No, sometimes you literally have to walk away from the table and be like, I can't do that though. And in the midst of you saying, I can't, you will come up with solutions to what you can do. And that'll get you closer to the middle and understanding what it is you both want. And that is so important that I say that, because I don't want you to think that all situations have this wondrous solution. It doesn't, and it won't. But it is the communication that gets you closer to resolve, okay? And it gets you closer to figuring out which pieces of both cultures, good and bad, can fit within your relationship. There are some things that you're going to think you was never going to do that you will do. And that goes for your partner too. But if you love someone, you will do it. And listen, I ain't talking about no crazy stuff, okay? Don't go there. I'm not talking about nothing crazy. I'm just talking about the basics of cultural differences. That I can speak on. Number 3, adjust and adapt to one another's culture through compromising and communication. I don't know how much more to say about that. Adapt. Adapt means to change parts of yourself to the point where you're still comfortable, but you're saying, okay, I'm able to adapt and change to this new way of thinking, this new way of life, this new way of living. People do it every single day. We do it within our own cultures with stuff that we don't even like about our own cultures. So you for sure can do it with your partner, right? But it comes with patience and it comes with compromise. It comes with compromise and it comes with communication. I'm going to tell y'all something. If you're not communicating, it's not going to work. If you're yelling to communicate, you're not going to be heard. You're not going to be heard. And I've done it. And I'm telling you because I've done it. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And compromise can be hard because it always feels like somebody is doing more than the other. But just know it is working in your benefit. Because even if you are doing more, well, babe, I did that. You asked me to do that, I did that. Babe, you asked me to do that, and I did that too. And now I'm over here cooking this because you like it, and I'm doing that too. So you can't meet me here? You don't think that person hears you? That person hears you. That person is trying to adapt. That person is trying to come to a place of compromise, because you can't group everybody and assume that they're going to do what you did, because those are your experiences. Those are your life lessons that have gotten you to that point. That person might not be there. And so you are their teacher. And we don't just teach through our words. We teach through our actions. So I'm telling you, compromise and communicate. And communication can be hard because if somebody doesn't want to talk to you, then you feel some kind of way. But communication can only happen when two people are ready. And so if you have to sit in silence for a little while until that person is ready, then cool. You know what I'm saying? The one thing I remember me and my husband talking about when things would just get crazy, and I'd say, you know what? If you're yelling, I'm done. I have to walk away because I do not compromise in the midst of chaos. I can't. I cannot. It's too much going on. And that's me. And maybe you and your partner do find compromise in yelling at one another. That's not me. I can't do it. And so it took us a while to get to that point because I think in his culture, yelling is just something that they do. Like they yelling to ask for coffee. You know what I'm saying? So it is a part of his culture to yell and to be excited and be passionate about the things that he's saying. But in my culture and in my home, the home that I grew up in, it was a sign of disrespect. You don't have to yell at me for me to understand what you're saying. I can hear you clearly. I hear you. I hear you. You know what I'm saying? And so it came with a lot of compromise and it came with communication. And by far, that is one of the best lessons that I've learned, understanding cultural differences. And don't get it twisted. There's still times in our marriage, even after almost 20 years, where somebody will try it, one or both of us. And then we both have to say, I don't like to be talked like that. He knows me and I know him very well. And he's used it on me. When you done yelling, maybe we can talk about it another time. Excuse me? Are you going to use me on me? Yes, he did. And yes, it works. Okay. All right, you guys. And lastly, be patient. Be patient. Don't be trying to have what somebody else has in 30 days. Don't be trying to have what somebody else has in a year. Don't be trying to have what somebody else has, period. Your person and you are way different than anybody else's relationship. You have way different situations and characters in your story. Like, there's no way you can have what somebody else has. What you want is the best version of your relationship. The best version of your relationship. And the best version of your relationship requires you to do what I said at the beginning. Educate yourself on your other person's culture. And vice versa, teach your person the same thing. But if you want to be out here living like somebody else, it's never going to work. Because, for instance, in my relationship, we have 20 something years invested. Invested. You cannot look at me and mine and say, there's no way. Because you're going to have to go through 20 plus years of obstacles, of growth, of lessons, of highs and lows, of happy days and sad days. Okay? And it's not going to happen overnight because it didn't happen overnight with us. And I'm being completely honest. I didn't look at anybody else's relationship. I knew I loved this man and I wanted this to work with every fiber of my being. And so I fought for it. And vice versa, he did the same. And there are times when I feel like I fought harder and longer than he. But that is my interpretation. That is my opinion coming from where I stand. If you were to ask him, I'm certain I'm certain he would say the same thing. Okay? And we were so young. We didn't have a mentor or a model to look at. And it wasn't that the people around us didn't have great relationships. They didn't have our story. They didn't have our background. Yeah, I had friends who were married to Senegalese guys, but it wasn't the same. Our journey was so different. And so, cheers to the future because we got through the past. You know what I'm saying? But understanding that cultural difference, that piece right there that is still being learned today. Every time I go back, I just got back from his country 2 weeks ago. I'm constantly learning. And I encourage you to consistently and constantly learn about you and your partner. And encourage your partner to have that same tenacity and desire to learn and know more about you. Let me know what you guys want to hear more about in the comment section below. I look forward to sharing more about my journey being married to an African.